Hey Dan, Tim Rayner here. As promised, I've put together a short series of slides to give you a bit more of an introduction to who I am and what I do. I really enjoyed meeting you last Thursday, but I was quite unprepared for the meeting. I just kind of blasted up the stairs when I saw Start Inno was across the way from Banksia Motors where I was having my car serviced, and lo and behold, I meet you, and I wish I'd done a little more preparation before that conversation. So anyway, here it is. This should give you a better idea of who I am and what I think I can bring to Start Inno, and hopefully help out on some of the stuff you're doing. So generally, I'm the kind of person who's really passionate about bringing people together in creative spaces and enabling them to make magic together. Everything that I do has been all about collaborative creation, and yeah, that's really the be-all and end-all for me. So I went online, I took a look at your incubator program, which last ran in, 2016. This looks great. It's precisely what I'm after at the moment, and I'll say a bit about that in a tick. It's really quite straightforward by the looks of it. This is all stuff that I have done or am doing, so I feel really confident about my ability just to dive in there and work with you on relaunching this program, and maybe even the accelerator program, depending on how you feel about that. So just to give a bit more background about me, I mentioned that I teach in the MBA in Entrepreneurship in Sydney. My class is called Leadership, Teams and Scalability. And I was the first person to run this class. The MBAE started back in 2016, and I was on board at that point. So I had the opportunity to design the whole thing as I wanted to go. And basically, it's a leadership course for startup founders. And so the first thing I have to do is just break through this mindset that so many people seem to have when they come to leadership programs, which is that, oh yeah, I know what leadership's all about. You know, I've done a bit of it. I've done this course. I just start off by saying, look, you're entering into a different kind of space insofar as you're trying to lead startup teams. Different rules apply, different practices apply, different mindsets apply. Values are very important. There's a whole bunch of things that you need to think about that you probably are not across, given your previous experience. So I take them into this class. It's taught in block mode over a series of weekends. And I deliver most of the content online prior to the class, and spend most of the time just workshopping practices, really. We get them developing a lean canvas. We get them running experiments, testing things out, learning by doing, while giving them a whole lot of great content from Eric Ries, Ash Maria's books, and a bunch of other stuff. It's all really good, juicy stuff, and it's a lot of fun. The students get a lot out of it. I think all of the content here is just perfect for bringing to the Start Inno incubator. So let me tell you a bit more about the way that I approach things in the MBAE. I'm really concerned to start by going deep, because I think that self-awareness, particularly around a leader's personal sense of values, is really, really important. You just can't just give lip service to this stuff. You've got to go on that intensive journey to figure out who you are and what you really want to create in the world if you're going to lead a great team and build a great startup. I draw heavily on Eric Ries's recent work. I was really inspired by the Leader's Guide to Lean Startup at Scale, which, as you know, Ries gave away as a reward in his crowdfunding campaign for his latest book, The Startup Way. I actually think that book is better than The Startup Way. I don't know, it just seems to touch on more important stuff and go a bit deeper. I find these startup ways a little bit kind of superficial, but I guess that's what you've got to do if you're going to write a bestseller. Anyway, um, I run them through the whole process that Reese outlines in the startup way. I think it's great for building entrepreneurial units within large organizations, but I think the process is also a really great guide to building a startup under any conditions. And finally, we wind up looking at the challenges of scaling your startup. We develop a traction model. We develop roadmaps to growth, drawing on Ashmara's stuff in scaling lean. That's all really good stuff. The students get a lot out of it. Yeah, I think it puts them in a really good position to just get out of the class, get out of the building, and go and just start something themselves. So these are the kinds of knowledges and skills that I can bring to your programs. I think that I'm a pretty unique candidate. I've got a high-level understanding of startup practice, but also a very personal appreciation of the importance of the kind of the self-development and self-understandings that are required to actually make a success as a startup founder. And well, I've got a whole realm of big ideas that I've just kind of gleaned from my history working in philosophy and entrepreneurship that I can bring to the table as well. That really helps me do the work of startup coach. I've done a little bit of startup coaching work for the Hatchery, and I find that I'm pretty good at tapping into people's intrinsic motivations and inspiring them to get out there and learn by doing, embrace the growth mindset, all that stuff, and just commit to a successful startup journey. So a lot of the work that I've done is embedded in my last book, Hacker Culture and the New Rules of Innovation. The basic thesis there is in the title. I think that startup founders really need to appreciate that the old rules of entrepreneurship don't apply in the age of lean prototyping and customer co-creation and so forth. Success requires a whole different mindset and a whole range of different practices. And I think that so many of these mindsets and approaches can be traced back historically to the world of software development and hacker culture generally. So really that's what I'm trying to do in the book. I'm trying to say, look, if you really want to understand how to lead great startup teams and embed the startup way in your organization, then you got to get over your fear of hacking and appreciate the hacker way is really key to moving fast, breaking things, learning through doing, building in an experimental and iterative fashion. So again, all this is really high level. Most of it I managed to bring to my work at Bavaria, which occupied me between March and November this year. While that was a great experience, it was a real privilege to have the opportunity to work with such a top team on a funded startup enterprise. At the same time, it became evident pretty early on that the leaders were falling victim, the founders were falling victim to the kinds of mistakes that founders tend to make when they get money too early. They just took it as product validation, and it made them way too confident and over-ambitious about what they could achieve in a short period of time. I think ultimately that is what killed us. But I learned so much in that experience. I really had the opportunity to apply so many of the frameworks and models and mindsets that I have researched and explored and taught in my course. So it was a really rewarding experience for me. I've come out of it with the sense that I had the opportunity to play in Wonderland for a short period of time, but it was a bit of a dreamscape. What I need to do now is just kind of like get back to basics, and just focus on working with early stage entrepreneurs, and potentially small teams, and helping them build their dreams in an agile way. So that's what interests me about getting involved with what you're doing at Stardino. I really feel at this point in my career, it'll be good for me to get back to basics, and just spend a few months just focusing on the very enjoyable process of building shit. I'd also love the opportunity to get to know you better, and find my way around the very interesting entrepreneurial and startup networks here in the Northern Rivers and Gold Coast region. So those are my ulterior motives, and yeah, basically I'm just keen to start. So that is it from me. I would really love the opportunity to get together and have a bit more of a chat about things we might do together. But I'll leave it there, and look forward to speaking to you in person again soon. See you then.